Hello, hello. We are live, couple minutes late, but hey, it's real live. How are you, dear?
Good. Happy Monday. How are you?
I'm good. Just getting Instagram going here. Come on, Instagram. There we go.
Shoot. Yeah. So today's President's Day. So we were off today. So I was playing social media queen, making a whole bunch of reels, which people will be able to watch for the next few weeks. And but just so everyone knows, and welcome, by the way, to our podcast. I am Coach Sherri, and I am a senior health and wellness coach. I'm also a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified nutritional coach and a behavior change specialist. Now, I help people who feel inflamed, exhausted, and ashamed or stuck finally break free from metabolic chaos without extremes. And my work blends science and nervous system regulation and trauma informed coaching to create a slow, sustainable healing that actually lasts. Because I have lived that, right? I am on a over 4-year journey myself. And when you come to a point where you finally realize that you have to go beyond the nutrition. So who are you, ma'am?
I am as I end up and am on most social media platforms, right? I am Becky Niles. That is my social handle for most every social media platform that is out there. Otherwise, I can be found under Beyond Nutrition Community. One of the two places, right? But I am a certified holistic health coach that I focus in metabolic health as well as circadian health. So I got certified in circadian and quantum biology back in 2021. Have been focused on that because of kind of what you said, right? We all go down the rabbit hole of finding what works for us and then reach back the hand to help others. And after years of struggling with my own, I did do just solely the nutrition side. I went, about any health, nutrition, diet, lifestyle you could end up and be on, for hormones, for metabolic dysfunction, gut, fatigue, weight, you name it, right? It all kind of falls under that metabolic category. And that is when I founded the Beyond Nutrition Community, because I realized that I had to go into the circadian side as well as the nervous system regulation side. And I created a method and a lifestyle practice out of that, which founded into the aligned metabolism method. And that is the method that I end up and I coach with hundreds of clients in clinical practice day in, day out. And it integrates not only nutrition as a pillar, but also circadian biology, nervous system, and makes it a sustainable approach, because our lifestyle isn't just what can we do for the next 60 to 90 days, but it is what can we do for a lifestyle, right? And build that consistent habit. So that is in a nutshell who I am, as well as all my, certifications and training and all of that. So yeah, that is, as well as, also the molecular hydrogen advisor as well. So I do add that extra training in there. But yeah, I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah, we're just two women on a healing journey. Yeah.
Started a podcast about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, and we have several episodes out there, and we are on most streaming platforms. So this is not only a Monday night live on the platforms that we are currently live on, which I think there are 6 of them. We are also on the audio version only on most listening anywhere from Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio to Amazon Music to Spotify and everything in between. So if you can't find us, you're not looking hard enough, because we are out there. So welcome.
We are. So I'm really excited about tonight. So we are going to have a conversation. We have a guest, and just so everyone knows, I was honored to be this year's grand prize winner of and I'm going to butcher it. Here we go. Oregon. Nope. Health, organ,
organuary or
organ.
something. I don't
We'll
know.
have
How about we
Chris
bring
come
our
on
guest
and
on?
have him come on and pronounce it. But anyway, he was a sponsor, and when I tell you their prize package was incredible, I can't even begin to tell you. There are flavors of Keto Chow in there that I have never heard of, and I'm excited to try. My husband is excited to try them. Thank goodness they sent me 2 of each because now I can share. And then also there was some salty, which is electrolytes, and so there was a bunch of stuff in there for that as well. And I got a Keto Chow shaker bottle, which is really neat too. So I'm excited to bring Chris on. He's the creator of Keto Chow as a way to simplify getting good nutrition for the quote, I just need food meals, focusing on getting the best versions of proteins, vitamins, and minerals available and saving mental energy for the important things. You don't have to be doing keto to use Keto Chow, but it does make keto easier. In 2023, Chris created SALTT electrolytes as an alternative to the existing electrolytes that were available with some questionable ingredients like maltodextrin. And that just didn't fit with what he wanted in an electrolyte supplement. The #1 bestseller is the unflavored Clean Slate. So welcome, Chris.
It's a true story. #1 is the Clean Slate, which kind of blows us away every time we look at that figure. So anyway, thanks for having me on. It's organuary, and the only reason I know how to say it right is when we were in Hack Your Health, the team from Pluck who was organizing it all, I think they probably said it 4 times before it clicked into my head.
Okay.
So I heard them say it. Somebody a couple years ago told me never make fun of someone who mispronounces a word, because that means that they learned it through reading. And
yes.
I think I was 16 when I learned that annihilate and annihilate were the same word. I was just mispronouncing it. So anyway.
I love it. So first of all, tell us, how did you get to be a sponsor?
Well, so we were there at KetoCon. Sorry, not KetoCon. It's Hack Your Health by KetoCon. Okay, great. We were there at Hack Your Health, and the team from Pluck came around. They were sponsoring the eating of more organ meats, which is a really important thing. A lot of people really struggle with getting organ meats in their diet, especially because a lot of them, like liver, have a pretty strong taste. I always recommend to people, if you can't eat organ meats, eat eggs, because they have everything to make a baby chicken, including all the organs. Anyway, so they just approached us and said, hey, we would like to do this giveaway. Would you guys consider doing it? And yeah, we signed up. So that was kind of it.
I love it. Like I said, the package I got was just enormous. Like it was, and I have visited your booth twice, going to Hack Your Health, and I know that there are flavors in there that I hadn't seen before, so I was excited for those.
Yeah. Well, at Hack Your Health, we actually only had salty, the electrolyte. Just because Keto Chow is a little bit difficult to communicate to people, because people, I don't know, a lot of people's experience with meal replacement shakes is less than positive, to be kind of nice about it. They've had experience where they're really gritty, or the nutrition is terrible on them, or it's just protein, which is fine, but that's more of a snack than actual meal. And so we find it sometimes it's difficult to communicate that. And for Hack Your Health, myself and my wife Miriam, we went to the conference ourselves. Usually we have people from our marketing team either with us or just there doing it. And so because it was just us, it's a little bit easier to communicate the electrolytes and to help people understand the importance of electrolytes and why we're doing electrolytes and why we think salty is better. So we just said, you know what, we're going to make this very simple. So we didn't have any Keto Chow. We just had the salty electrolytes. There you go.
Absolutely. So let's go back. Let's go way back. What got you on this journey? What made you create these products? Let's go way back.
So I am a computer networking and systems engineer. Naturally, I got into human nutrition.
Right.
Well, okay. So I, as an engineer, whenever I was building systems or putting stuff together, I didn't know this term, essentialist, but that kind of sums things up. Trying to do the things that are most important and saying no to the things that aren't. So whenever I was setting things up, I was always trying to optimize it, to make it easier for myself, to give myself more time to do the things that are most important. Back in, it's going on 10 years, a decade ago, I started to do a keto diet, which if you're familiar with it, a lot of times you have to track nutrients. You kind of have to figure out the amount of protein you're getting. Some people are tracking total carbohydrates. Some people are tracking net carbohydrates. There's also, people end up with some vitamin deficiencies if they're not, or mineral deficiencies, if they're not vigilant in what they're eating. And I figured there'd be a better way to do that. And some people were doing some stuff with meal replacement shakes. I had been kind of messing around with that before I started keto. And so I put together a recipe, and I was just blogging about it on my own website. Also on Reddit, there was a big discussion on these different meal replacements. And it was just something I was doing for myself, messing around with the ingredients, changing things around. As soon as I found out about a more suitable form of a vitamin for humans, I would incorporate that into the recipe. For instance, you don't want vitamin D2, you want vitamin D3. You don't want folic acid, you want 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, things like that. And so I was incorporating that in, and again, just blogging about it. And a bunch of people were like, hey, this is an interesting thing, but I don't want to use your recipe because it costs like $300 to buy all the ingredients. Because I just had the recipe posted on the site. I don't want to buy all the ingredients off Amazon. Can you send me a sample? Sure, I'll put together a sample. And then a bunch of people asked for it. I'm like, why don't I make it so people can order? Just order a sample. And then it got kind of like, maybe I should make it so that people can order a 21 meal package, which it's enough if you really wanted to, you could live off of it for a week. And that, by the way, I guess I skipped over that. One of the design philosophies was if you didn't want to cook, which I think cooking is very important. In fact, I recommend to people to learn how to cook. That's a valuable life skill. But if for whatever reason you didn't want to cook, you didn't have time to cook, you were stuck in a meeting, whatever, I'd make it as nutritionally complete as possible so that you would not end up with a nutritional deficiency. So much so that if you were stuck on a feeding tube or you had jaw surgery and you were required to eat a liquid diet, could this healthfully sustain human life for months at a time? Again, I'm not recommending the people to do that. Only a crazy person would actually try something like that. But that was a design philosophy from the outset because I didn't want myself to get a nutritional deficiency. And as time went on, I have a bunch of daughters that are doing ketogenic diets. One of them specifically for mental health. And I have to make sure that it's using the best nutrition possible, not just for myself and for other people, but specifically for her so that she can get the right stuff. So that's kind of how this all started. like I said, people could order it. It just kind of slowly evolved into a thing. I ended up quitting my day job, starting to get employees, leased a warehouse, got a bigger warehouse. And it's been a very interesting journey. And I have severe imposter syndrome where I'm like, why do people take me seriously? I'm just an engineer who was too lazy to cook. So that's kind of how it all started.
I love it. So when did your wife get on board? Like, how was that?
So we got on board with keto. I think it was in 2017. We actually went to Keto Fest, which was a little conference festival thing in New London, Connecticut, with the two keto dudes, not to be confused with the two crazy ketos. And I get them mixed up in my head a bunch of times. Anyway, she came along to that. We had just kind of, in the business side, we had switched from mixing it all by ourselves in our kitchen, which was crazy. Like we were actually using a sausage mixer because it mixes horizontally, so we could mix all the powder together and get cohesive, homogeneous mixtures. Anyway, we had just switched to using a co-manufacturer. There's a company, they have all the FDA permits and all the stuff, and they wear the lab coats. Anyway, you give them the recipe and they manufacture it for you. Except that every co-packer out there is going to try to cut corners and make it as cheaply as possible. They're going to use flavorings that contain maltodextrin. They're going to use the cheap forms of vitamins. In fact, that's pretty much all they carry, is those the things that everybody wants, which is the cheapest form available. We were very lucky, number one, to live in Utah. There's a really weird regulatory environment here in Utah for nutraceuticals, like making. Actually, well, it's kind of all based on, there's a very strong multi-level marketing culture here, but I won't even go into that. But there's a lot of companies that cater to making nutrition products here in Utah. And we were able to find a company that was willing to talk to us, which was remarkable. It took about a year and a half, 2 years to find someone that would even talk to us, that was willing to make the stuff and make it with the ingredients we wanted. And at first, it was really small volumes. Like I would send them a purchase order for like 200 bags of banana flavor, or like 300 bags of chocolate, and it was super small. So yeah, we had, back to the Keto Fest, we had just barely at that point started having the company manufacture the stuff for us. And so we had gone to this conference. She came along. We weren't a sponsor of the conference. We were just kind of like guerrilla marketing it a little bit and handing out samples to people. But she went there and listened to the presentations, which is something that I really enjoy doing. Unfortunately, as a sponsor for a lot of the conferences, we don't get to listen to the actual talks, which kind of sucks. And so a lot of times we just go as regular people to be able to listen to the presentations. And there were a lot of presentations about kind of the science of low carbohydrate diets, about, ancestral appropriate eating and nutrition and things like that. And she decided she was going to, well, number one, she didn't want to have to make 2 meals. I'm like, well, you don't have to make 2 meals because I'm eating keto chow for most of my meals, whatever. But she decided that she was going to give it a try as well. And at that point, she was already helping with the business. She was like helping pack and package up orders every day. So it was kind of weird, excuse me, for her to get involved in this, because she was a stay-at-home mom, and it was an interesting journey, to put it lightly.
I love it.
Through that, you ended up, I just want to point out something real quick.
Yeah.
You said that most of your meals were Keto Chow, or
Yeah.
majority. Didn't you do an experiment with like several days, like 100 days or something on just Keto Chow?
Several. Yeah. Well, okay. So I put out there that it's nutritionally complete. And I had done a couple of experiments where I had only had Keto Chow with, different things. And people may or may not know Dave Feldman. Dave Feldman he's Mr. Cholesterol. And he was getting a lot of questions from people that are like, hey, Dave, what does heavy cream do to the lipid energy model? Hey, Dave, what does butter do? What does avocado oil? What do these different oils do? The problem is it's really difficult to do a controlled variable experiment with human beings. They don't like doing it, especially something with nutrition where you only have one variable. And so I was talking with him about all of this, and like I said, I'd done some previous experiments where I'd like eaten only Keto Chow for 30 days or for 7 days or something like that. And I wanted to do an experiment where I tested the effects of different fats on human metabolism. So I decided to go really ambitious. I'm like, you know what? I'm only going to eat Keto Chow every day, which again, not necessarily recommended, but it's designed for that. And I'm going to do 2 weeks at a time of different fats. So heavy cream, avocado oil, liquid coconut oil, which I don't recommend. There's a lot of MCTs in that. Anyway, I also did grapeseed oil, which is the highest polyunsaturated fat I could find. It made my plantar fasciitis come back. It was really interesting. It's very, very inflammatory. Despite my ketones being above 3.0. But that's beside the point. Anyway, wow. I tried all these different fats, and it was just a 2-week period of each one. And I was getting around $1,000 of blood tests every week to test what this was doing to my blood results. Strangely, there was a lady who was about 20 years older than me, significantly shorter, and she did the experiment at the same time. And we were both getting blood tests. I was paying for her blood test too, so we could see if with N equals 2, what the different fats did. The short version, Cliff Notes, is that polyunsaturated fats were extremely bad for. They made our HDL go down, which is bad. They made triglycerides go up. For me, they doubled my triglycerides, which is particularly concerning. Butter, like melted butter, works extremely well. It actually had the best results. Heavy cream wasn't far off. Avocado oil was great. I would not recommend macadamia nut oil. It's got a really strong flavor. And I actually did a follow-up experiment contrasting grass-fed butter and extra virgin olive oil, and there wasn't a huge difference between them. But yeah, that was the 100-day experiment. Again, it was to get science. And if I have a good motivation like science, then sticking with just eating Keto Chow for 298 consecutive meals. I forgot to eat twice. That works out. The first meal I had when it was done was chocolate mint Keto Chow, and then I went for some Buffalo Wild Wings, which are fantastic. So
very nice. Yeah, I remember when you were doing that. And so obviously you know that it can end up and be done. What sets, other than the quality ingredients and the kind of the sustainability that you had, what sets the Keto Chow apart from some of the other ones on the market?
It tastes really good. I think I don't like to toot my own horn. I'm, again, huge imposter syndrome. But I like to think that if you have the person in charge of formulation using the product consistently, you're going to suss out a lot of the weirdness. Some of the different products out there, like, I don't know, you taste it and you're like, have they ever tasted this before? Like, it's just kind of weird. It's like very gritty, or you have to mix it up and drink it right away. Or, I mean, Keto Chow lasts up to 6 days in the fridge. So right now, my daughter, who has to use Keto Chow for depression, she's able to just go down to the refrigerator that we have in our garage. It's kind of the designated Keto Chow fridge. And last week I mixed up 18 of them, and they were just sitting in there. And so when she's all out of spoons and she just can't do anything else, she's able to just go down and grab them. So like I said, they taste great. And I also think that it's very important to use the correct forms of nutrients. And I don't think that gets enough attention. A lot of products out there will use like magnesium oxide, which is essentially white paint. It looks really good on a label claim. I think it's almost twice as much magnesium in magnesium oxide compared to something like magnesium malate or magnesium chloride, things like that. So you're able to use less of it, and it looks really good on the nutrition, except it doesn't actually help people. So, you know, and that's a big focus for us, using the product ourselves and making it the best way we possibly can. And like I said, this never was I'd never planned Keto Chow to be a company. And so like I priced it wrong. Whenever we have people approach us like, hey, we'd like to sell your stuff in stores. And I'm like, no, you won't. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the markup's terrible. So then they look at it and they're like, why are you offering such a small margin? I'm like, because it's expensive to make. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever. So then they move on. So yeah.
So going back to the magnesium side real quick.
Yeah.
So if magnesium oxide, obviously we all know it also has laxative effect for many, but isn't the most used form or the best used form wine, since especially with like your daughter that is using it for depression, is using it for mental health issues, why not use like a magnesium threonate so that it gets past that blood-brain barrier?
Mm-hmm. So the one that we use in Keto Chow is magnesium malate. The stuff that I've seen online and the research that I've done on magnesium, there's lots of different forms of magnesium. Usually you have an elemental magnesium paired with something else. It could be an oxide, it could be a chlorine, it could be an amino acid. The different forms of magnesium, this is going to be a controversial take. There are a lot of claims about different forms of magnesium, about human digestible, absorbable forms of magnesium having significantly different effects. I personally haven't seen any peer-reviewed information, and I would love to be illuminated and shown hard evidence that orotate versus glycinate have specific health effects. Like, I would be extremely interested in seeing that. Like I said, I haven't seen that yet. What I have seen is that threonate, malate, orotate, glycinate, the ones that are bound to amino acids, the ones that are bound to malic acid, and the ones, actually magnesium chloride specifically, that those ones humans can absorb, and it's the magnesium itself that is particularly helpful for people. And so without any additional information that I can reliably source. And again, I would love to have more information. Without any additional information, we're using magnesium malate because it tends to not impact the flavor and yet be human absorbable and digestible and not cause that laxative effect. With salty, on the other hand, the magnesium that we're using, we actually don't use magnesium. It has a lot in it because it's part of the trace minerals that are with the salt. Magnesium chloride is what you get when raw magnesium, elemental magnesium, is broken down by plants and animals and erosion and dissolved into water. You don't usually typically get the different amino acid versions of magnesium in nature, but you do get magnesium chloride. And so that's what we're not using. That's what is in the electrolytes, just because it's naturally occurring. It's already dissolved in water. It actually absorbs extremely well. So there you go. That's the magnesium thing.
So since we're still on the electrolyte mineral composition here, and you switch gears over to the salty, I'm going to continue on the salty side of things. Do you have any intentions on making a salty version or expanding the electrolyte line into a higher potassium to sodium ratio element or electrolyte?
That's a really good question. So so salty by itself, it's our brand of electrolytes, and we have several products underneath that. The packets internally, and most other people just refer to these as salty because it's kind of our champion product. Technically, that's salty electrolyte drink mix. We also have
hydrate drops
liquid.
and
So this one right here, this was Dr. Bair's concoction. This is extremely high in potassium. It should have had actually more sodium in it according to his original formula, but it would have doubled the serving size. And we're like, hey, Dr. Bair, if we reduce the amount of sodium, we can put twice as many servings in a bottle, and it reduces the shipping cost for people, and we can reduce the product cost. And he's like, people can get salt from anywhere. Like, great. Okay. So that's why the potassium is so high in this guy. With the powdered electrolyte drink mix, so in each stick pack, it's almost 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which is comparable to things like LMNT and several other different electrolytes, like Redmond Relay. We have twice the potassium of any other of the electrolytes, so 400 milligrams of potassium. And we have 3 times the magnesium. Again, we're not including magnesium. It just comes as part of the electrolytes. A specific version that has more potassium, I actually haven't looked into that. Strangely enough, what I've looked into is doing one that doesn't have potassium added, which is a request from our Canadian friends up north, because Health Canada doesn't allow nutrition companies to add potassium to their stuff. If it's naturally occurring, you can have it, but if it's added, it can't have more than 99 milligrams per serving, which is not a lot. So we're looking at a version. This is actually the first time anyone's heard about this. We're looking at a version that's lower in potassium, as in the powdered version, just to see if we can get that up into Canada a bit easier. Because right now it has to be imported weird, and we have to put a weird label on it in order for it to be imported into Canada. A higher potassium. That's an interesting one.
So for slower, and I've seen it in clinical practice too, where people will use things, not to end up and throw other names under the bus, but they will use other forms of stick packet electrolyte.
Okay.
And I'll phrase it that way, right? And I am personally one of them. When I end up and I use those, then it does end up and throw the balance off, and I get very symptomatic because I am a slower metabolizer of sodium. But if I end up and I have a higher potassium ratio one, then I end up and I feel better and I have more energy and I don't have muscle twitches. And I mean, the list goes on, right?
Yeah.
And so I do utilize one that is a higher potassium to sodium. Now, yes, it does still carry the magnesium and the minerals and everything along with it. But that's why I ended up and I ask, is because I personally, you know, again, I'm on the journey, right, of what best suits and is able to fit what I need. And that is one of them. And so, yeah, that's why I was asking.
Okay. How much potassium are you getting per stick pack?
So mine has actually over 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that I use.
Interesting.
So Becky and I went down this rabbit hole. I don't know. It's been 2 years ago. I don't know.
Potassium hole.
We did, because I'm the exact same as her. I was finding that the sodium was causing, you know, my rings on my hands to, you know, my fingers to swell. And when I lowered that and raised the potassium, I also, because I was having eye twitching, I was doing all kinds of weird stuff. I mean, we had a whole formula going on, didn't we, Becky, of the whole, you know, how much we needed. And we were both the same. And we're finding our clients kind of fall into that category as well.
Interesting. Well, and our hydrate, the liquid hydrate stuff,
it's almost a 2-to-1 to.
Oh, the one that you're doing is like 2 times the potassium to 1 time the sodium. Okay, because our hydrate is a 1-to-1, which is a lot higher potassium than most other products I've ever seen. So that's really interesting. Okay.
So let's back up for a minute.
Okay.
So what gap did you see in the electrolyte space, right, that made you create SALTT? Like, where did that, I mean, here you are, Keto Chow.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, so I have great respect for specifically Luis Villaseñor and Tyler Cartwright, who are the ones that created the formula that became LMNT. They were kind of the founders. It was later other people took that and made it into a successful product, but Luis and Tyler, fantastic people. I really have a lot of respect for the people at Redmond who make Redmond Relight. Okay. I want to be extremely clear in that. There were kind of 2 big things that led down the journey of making the electrolyte drink mix. First off, we were at the Omaha Hard to Kill Summit back in, I think it was 2022. And it had just come out that some people had contacted Redmond and said, hey, by the way, is there any maltodextrin in your flavor? And just in case you don't know what that is and why this is a thing. So flavorings, whether it's a natural flavor, whether it's a artificial flavor, whether it's essence from fruit juice, whether it's anything, it generally starts off as a liquid, and you have to turn it into a powder if you're going to make it into a dry mix. Okay. And the normal thing that you use as a flavor manufacturer is maltodextrin. It's strings of glucose. Your saliva breaks it up into glucose very easily, but it works extremely well as a binder and a carrier in food. And for normal people, maltodextrin is like, it's just what you use. It's starch. It's great. Unless you happen to be doing a low carbohydrate diet or you're sensitive to corn, but regardless. And so everybody uses maltodextrin for their flavoring. And people had found out that Redmond's Relight had maltodextrin in the flavoring. And they were losing their minds at Redmond. And all these people were like just really getting upset. And the team from Redmond was there at the Omaha Summit. They were actually one of the big sponsors. And I was talking to some of their team, and I'm like, hey, you guys should really reformulate your flavoring and do it without maltodextrin. And they said, you can't do flavoring without maltodextrin. I'm like, we do it. All of our flavorings don't have maltodextrin. We're using acacia gum instead, which is, it's actually sap from a tree. Your body can't, it's a fiber. Your body can't digest it, but your gut bacteria can, which is kind of interesting. It actually gets metabolized into butyrate, like beta hydroxybutyrate, and other short chain fats, but I digest. So we were like, hey, you guys should reformulate and use not maltodextrin, use acacia gum instead. And they're like, we can't do it. It's not something that we can do. And we're like, well, I mean, you should. Meanwhile, everybody losing their mind about that. Joe Stauffer of Two Crazy Ketos was kind of a big proponent of, well, everybody's losing their mind about Redmond Relight having maltodextrin. Well, LMNT has it as well. They're just not putting it on their website, because at this point, Redmond Relight had put on their website an FAQ about their flavoring using maltodextrin. There was nothing of the sort from LMNT. Okay, so that's one of the first things. And we're like, hey, and Joe even said to me, you guys should make an electrolyte. I'm like, I don't want to get into that. He's like, no, you should do it. You should do it, and do it without maltodextrin. Okay. Well, another one of the big things that kind of kicked this off was my wife, Miriam, liked to use Redmond Relay and LMNT. But the flavor was too strong for her to use in a 16-ounce water bottle. I'm off frame on the on the vertical one. Anyway, so she would use half of a packet, and then she would roll it up and put it in her purse. And then inevitably, it would leak and it would get all over the place, and it was terrible. And I wanted, when we finally decided, okay, you know what, let's look into making an electrolyte. I wanted to make something that didn't have the same super strong flavor, the overpowering flavor. And I had a hunch that, because a lot of people are like, oh, this is too salty, okay? Like Relight and LMNT. I had a hunch that it wasn't the salt. It was actually too much citric acid was causing the issue. And then people's palates were confusing the two, or conflating the two. And so I wanted to make one that had a milder flavor, that was tolerable, I suppose, that was tolerable in a 16-ounce water bottle, or 500 milliliter if you prefer. So anyway, that was when we started the design process. That's kind of what I was going for. There's also a lot of excitement, to put it mildly, about where citric acid comes from. You can either get it from actual citrus fruits, which is extremely expensive, or you can run it through a bioreactor and get it from a form of black mold using corn syrup. A lot of people get it's controversial. I wanted to not use citric acid as well. So I started messing around, came up with a formula, worked on a bunch of different flavors. And that's kind of how SALTT was created. It took about a year from all of that until we had SALTT going. And it had been out about a year when, I don't know if you remember, LMNT, there was a big controversy about whether or not there was maltodextrin in it. Luis, again, the creator of the original formula, I understand he was coming from a point of view where the formula that he had made did not have maltodextrin. And so there was, unfortunately, back and forth where people were like, it has maltodextrin. He's like, no, it doesn't. And then there was, because of the way that the product had been manufactured during mass production. And a lot of people were like, in the keto space were like, hey, did you guys start this? I'm like, nah, I didn't start the fire. It's always been burning, sing the song. But yeah, that's salty. That's how it kind of all started. It was really just something I wanted for myself. It's kind of like the same thing with Keto Chow. I just wanted something that my wife could put in a water bottle that tasted good, that had good salt with a lot of potassium, not as much as Becky wants, but a lot of potassium and a lot of magnesium. The company that manufactures our liquid electrolytes, they're the ones that make the salt for us. I wanted something that dissolved easily too. I don't know if you've ever had that experience with some other electrolytes. You put it in water and like 20 minutes later, it's still clumps floating on the surface, or there's sand in the bottom. I didn't want that. I just wanted it to dissolve. I wanted it to taste good. So that's kind of how it all started off. And the salt that we get from the company that makes the stuff for us, it's just really full of trace minerals. We could make that be the big thing that we market on, because a lot of other companies are like, this contains all these trace minerals. And I'm like, I don't even want to make the label claims. I'll just let it stand on its own. It's good salt. It has good flavor. Tastes fantastic. It has the magnesium that you're looking for. Yes, there are trace minerals, but I'm not going to worry about that.
So it's Joe Stauffer's fault. That's what I
yes,
know.
It is very much Joe.
We'll blame it
on
Joe. Yeah.
Rachel, pure Rachel. Flavored purse dust.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing that Rachel Stauffer, she likes to do is she'll actually put a packet into her hand and do the lick a stick thing. And if you've ever been really dehydrated, salt tastes amazing. So,
well, Becky and I actually put it in our coffee.
That's a great application for it. I know a lot of people, especially our chocolate flavor, they really like doing that. Other people really like putting Keto Chow in their coffee, or they like putting coffee in their Keto Chow. Yeah.
In fact, it's funny because if I go, to a coffee shop somewhere, it's like, oh, this doesn't taste as good as my salty coffee. And I carry it with me. I mean, because I have to doctor it up to make it taste like I want it to taste, which is so funny. But so, and it's funny because, and again, not throwing some of the other electrolyte companies under the bus, but my husband he gets extreme pain. He sweats profusely in the summer.
Okay.
Like he loses electrolyte. He did not like any of the others because I have bought different ones, and I'm like, hey, try this. Hey, try this. Right. When we were at Hack Your Health, was it 2 years ago? The last year they were in Austin. Mm-hmm. We went over to the salty booth, and my husband was trying them, and he bought like a ton of them then because he liked it. Right. It didn't taste artificial to him. It didn't, and it's like we had to do something in the summertime. By the way, that's him behind us.
I see him.
But so but it was very impressive to me that, because he was a hard sell on any of them, because I'm trying to get him off of the sports drink that starts with a G that has nothing to do with sports drink, right? He's that person that's like, oh, let's
they have great marketing though,
don't they? And so I was always trying to get him to switch, and Salty did it. Like it was, that was the one. He could tell the taste difference.
Nice. Okay.
So what in your journey did you realize, like, this is bigger than a product, like this is really changing lives? When did that kind of hit you?
So it's no longer, our website has been through a lot of revisions, but the About Us page on our website, my website, back then I was customer service. I was the webmaster. I was the marketing department. I was all these things. Anyway, back then, the About Us page had a story from a person who suffered through epilepsy and was using a well-formulated ketogenic diet to control the epilepsy without anticonvulsants. And it's just a quote from them about how using Keto Chow was helping them to stick to not having seizures and being able to have the creative energies to be able to do other things with their day. So the point of Keto Chow isn't to replace eggs and bacon. It's not to replace dinner with your family. It's to replace I am working today and I don't have time to go to get a bunless burger or something like that. I am in a meeting. I am driving. Like, that's the real target for Keto Chow, is the stupid meals where you just need good nutrition, or you just really want to put something into an ice cream maker, which is what I did today. I had blueberry ice cream for lunch, and it was delicious. So while I was watching, I was watching Joe and Rachel Stauffer talking on a YouTube video while I was eating my blueberry ice cream, and I felt like an adult. So that the guy talking about how Keto Chow was helping improve his quality of life, like, that's powerful, and it's impressive to me to see that being helpful to someone in their life. To step back a little bit, for those of you who don't know, my wife and I, we started off our family journey with a set of twins. And then we had a singleton. And then we're like, you know what was fun? Twins. So we had another set. And then we had a singleton to finish it all off. And just before the last singleton, nobody plans to have twins like that, but we did. Saved a lot on maternity deductibles, but that's another story. Just before we had our last singleton, I think he was 3 years old at the time, son, started to have seizures. They were grand mal and drop seizures, like bad stuff. We think it was triggered by a fever that he had. The first one was extremely scary, and then about several months later, he went into a series of seizures in rapid succession, and he had to be hospitalized, and it was traumatic. Again, he's like 3 or 4 years old. And when we were at the hospital, they basically, the anticonvulsants that they give them, they basically make the kids sleep through it. They're sedating them, for lack of a better term. It's slowing down their neural pathways. And he forgot, he had been recently potty trained, and we ended up having to do that all over again. It set him back in his development a lot. It took him several years to catch up because of the medication that he was given. We actually went through 12 medicines, 12 anticonvulsant drugs. And before they did the 13th, they gave us a little pamphlet that was talking about, well, a last ditch effort. If this one doesn't work, we're going to try a ketogenic diet. And this was actually the first I had ever heard of a ketogenic diet. And the way it was presented to us was, again, last ditch effort. They would hospitalize him, and he would be eating eggnog shakes and chicken breasts. And the eggnog shakes would, I later looked it up, are extremely high in soybean oil and honey. I don't know why there's honey in there, but whatever. And that they would put him into ketosis, and then that would be the kind of last ditch effort. Drug number 13 actually worked. And over the course of a couple of years, he grew out of all of that. Hasn't had a seizure in, I don't know, like almost 10 years now.
Awesome.
It actually predates us starting keto. But for me, it's an atrocity that the last effort was going to be to try a nutritional intervention and feed the kids something that would be ancestrally appropriate. Well, I don't know about the eggnog shakes and the chicken breasts, but there are other ways to do a well-formulated ketogenic diet to control seizures. And I get Mama Bear a bit every time I think about it. And so I want to provide something for people that's a lot easier than what we were given as options. If they can find it, we try to do a lot of advertising to get the word out there about Keto Chow. But it's when we see the people who are using it to control type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes, or even better, epilepsy, or they're just using it to feel better or to save themselves time and energy so they can devote it to their family. That's where it really became a big deal for us. And so a lot of times people ask, well, so what's next for you as far as the business goes? Like, are you guys planning on selling it? I'm like, not really. That's kind of why I built SALTT. This is a complete aside, but the ketogenic diet of late has had a lot of competition from GLP-1 medications, from Ozempic and things like that. There's a lot of people who are no longer doing ketogenic diets because it's easier to take a pill. And I respect people's decisions to use medical interventions like that. I'm not trying to put that down. But our sales are not as the keto diet is not as popular as it was. And so we're not the Keto Chow, the company, as of about 3 months ago, was actually more salty than Keto Chow. Like the majority of our sales are salty now, which is very interesting. It's not to the point yet where I'm going to rename the company, because that's a whole can of worms. But yeah, I would love it if SALTT continues to grow and allows me to maintain Keto Chow as this pet project that I have, just so that I can be of use to people and help them out. So yeah, there you go.
So what's next? You got anything? Can you give us a sneak peek on what's coming?
Actually, I can let the cat out of the bag of something that's coming tomorrow. Ooh. So today, for those of you who are listening later, it's already going to be available. But tomorrow at noon Eastern time, we will be releasing a new prototype flavor of SALTT. The prototypes it's a weird thing that we've been doing. There's a lot that I want to do with SALTT. I want to do new flavors. I want to put creatine in it, just because creatine is kind of freaking awesome. I'm actually putting 5 grams of creatine in every serving of Keto Chow that I'm eating right now, just because I'm actually doing it for the brain benefits and my complete lack of sleep. But that's beside the point. So we started a program about a year ago where we pre-printed a bunch of packets of SALTT, and the only difference between the different packets is a serial number. And if you put the serial number, if you get one of them and put the serial number into a website, it will tell you what weird experiment is in that particular packet. We did a version of the chocolate SALTT that had peanut flour in it. Chocolate peanut butter SALTT. It was amazing. We actually did one with creatine. Only 2 grams of creatine, which I realize is not the 5 grams that everybody wants, but it's what we could fit into the packet. We did one with caffeine, which was, we actually made that into a new product. The thing that's coming out tomorrow is pina colada flavored SALTT. So that's new. As far as Keto Chow goes, we're always messing around with flavors. I was mixing up new flavors today to see if I could get one that would really, really work well. It's become kind of hard to get a new flavor of Keto Chow because we've done so many. I think between the active flavors that we have and the flavors that have been discontinued, it's like 40. I'd love to bring back root beer float at some point, and I'd really like to bring back the black licorice just to really mess with Joe Stauffer. We actually, I had the very first batch that I ever made of the black licorice. It didn't have any color in it, and I gave it to Joe. Well, actually, we did a red licorice and a black licorice. Red licorice tasted exactly like red vines, like you were drinking milk through a red vine. And had him and Rachel taste it because they were in town in Utah visiting, and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing." And I'm like, "Okay, now taste this." And Joe, to his credit, he didn't spit it out, but he was like, "Wow, that really tastes like black licorice." And if you like black licorice, it's amazing. But anyway, so as far as what's next, yeah, there's a couple things that we're working on. I don't like to announce things before it's ready, just because, well, because of this, the peppermint Keto Chow. We first rolled peppermint Keto Chow in 2023, and in 2024 we tried to bring it back, and there was something wrong with the flavoring. We actually went through, I think it was 8 different changes to the flavor, and we never got it right. A year later, we finally got it right. So everyone was like, "When is peppermint going to come back?" I'm like, stupid peppermint. So I don't announce things until it's ready to go. But yeah, tomorrow morning we will have the Pina Colada Salty ready for people to try. Yeah, that's what's new.
I hear that song going in my head right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't read the lyrics to that song.
I know, right?
Anyway.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, what a story. I mean, I've been a fan before I won your before you became a sponsor, and you know, I mean, it was like Christmas. I mean, I've been having packages and boxes like show up. And like I said, we live in our travel trailer. My husband's like, "Where are we gonna put that? Where are we gonna put that? Oh, good.
I don't know.
Cardboard." Yeah. Oh. So
you guys have a burn pile, don't you? You can burn the cardboard.
Our county's under a burn ban right now.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just really funny. It's like, yeah,
you could build a box for it. Why don't you build a box for it? That sounds amazing.
We could. Yeah. I'll put him. Well, he's going to work on my garden. That's our next step now, is our garden. I think we're shrinking it down right now to some raised beds.
Okay.
Because I would like to build our house first. I can't
Priorities.
I know. I can't can in a travel trailer. I can't get my canning. Everything we own is in storage units. Like, it's just, we're living like just so far off of what we used to live like. It's funny because we realize we don't need 90% of what we own.
I actually was going through and donating stuff to charity on Saturday. I don't know who this charity lady is, but she sure did get a lot of electronic stuff that I haven't used in 20 years.
Oh, yeah. When we moved, well, both my husband and I my husband's a computer forensic examiner and a former programmer. I'm a former programmer and a software trainer.
Does he have an ultra wide SCSI 2 cable? Because I need one of those, and a
he
Terminator
might.
too.
He might. You need to tag me afterwards, because I'll ask him.
No, I got rid of an ultra wide SCSI 2 Terminator on Saturday because I'm like, I'm never going to use this.
You'll need it. You'll need it again. I know. Yeah. I know. It's so funny. Yeah. No, we have a server in our travel trailer.
As one should.
I know. Just people don't understand, do they? But we're getting so far off track. Chris, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the mission. Anything you'd like to add before we close out tonight?
Not really. I mean, I feel like I've dominated the conversation enough, you know.
It was great. It was wonderful.
Definitely was. And so here's the last piece of it. So I did the challenge. I won.
Eating more organ meats.
Yeah, I won, right? The grand prize winner. And Meta decided that me walking barefoot in the snow, because we got some snow, violated community standards, and I have been permanently banned off of Instagram and Facebook.
Not even in timeout. You're in permaban.
No, they banned me. Yeah, it was. And I keep firing off like these emails. And so I'm now pivoting and I got a TikTok, and I just don't care for social media all that much, but as a tech person, right? But yeah, so I'm on TikTok, which I've tagged you on. I did I opened the box and did a little reel. So nice. I tagged you on that on TikTok. I'm on X, and I'm slowly building. And then we're going to put that opening here on our YouTube. But that's my way of saying thank you so much. It's so bad because I can't tag you on Instagram and Facebook anyway.
I'm only on the anti-social media. So
right. Well, like I said, conversations like this just remind us that real healing isn't about extremes, right? It's about community. And we're so glad you're a part of our community and we're a part of yours. And if anyone is listening to this episode and any of this resonates with you, go give Keto Chow and SALTT a follow on social media, right? And I love the flavors. You can try them out. They've got a little pack. Do you have the packet there? You can buy big bags, but you can buy like the little bags, and then you can do yes.
So many little packets. Wow.
So many. Yeah. And you can try different flavors and things like that. And that's what I love about, that's kind of how we got started. Plus, we went to Hack Your Health and we're like, we'd go by and take another drink and keep on going, it was sustaining us, so definitely give Chris, his company, a follow. And also if you like what you see, don't forget to follow Beyond Nutrition Community podcast as well and comment. And look, you're doing great work, Chris, and we really appreciate it. And we'd love to have you back on sometime in the future to see where things are at. But keep taking those steps. We love it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Have a